looking at the key announcements that might affect our clients. I guess we'll start with employment tax, national insurance, living wage.
Yeah, so this was obviously the sort of flagship policy, if you like, from yesterday, one that has been in all the headlines and is the main one that comes up. So not overly surprisingly, given it was sort of leaked beforehand, that the manifesto pledge related to employee NIC.
I think it was almost all leaked, wasn't it? The Speaker of the House of Commons had a huge go at them about it.
Yeah. So we thought it was coming in relation to an increase in employers' national insurance, which is obviously what came about yesterday. So from April next year, the rate of employers' national insurance is going up from a current rate of 13.8%. Up to 15%. Looking at it, it doesn't look like a huge increase as such, but as we'll come on to in a sec, no doubt, it does add up quite substantially in some cases. So you've got that. Second, and sort of linked to that a little bit, is that the secondary threshold at which employers start paying employers' national insurance is being reduced from the current level of £9,100 per year down to £5,000 a year. So in essence, what that means is the point at which employers get dragged into paying employers' national insurance is going to be a lot sooner than what is currently the case. So it's a bit of a two-pronged approach, I suppose, in that the rate is going up, but the point at which you start paying it is going to be brought forward effectively.
So if you're an employer, many of our clients are, what options are available to them in terms of, presumably this is like a tax on jobs.
Yeah.
This is almost like, right, maybe we've now got to sit down, am I right in saying this, and say we got to sort of, maybe redo our budgets for next year. We've got to think about this in that. How do they go about tackling this?
I think it will have quite a knock-on effect. I mean, one thing that will help in terms of tackling this slightly, I suppose, is that the employment allowance is being increased. So at the moment, eligible employers can get £5,000 a year as the employment allowance, which effectively means that the first 5,000 of employers' national insurance is covered by that allowance. That's going up to £10,500 from April next year. So that will help in terms of having a bigger allowance. So for the smallest of employers, hopefully the increases in the rate and the threshold may be covered by the increase in the employment allowance. Also with that, what's going to be quite helpful and make it a bit more accessible to employers is currently there's a cap on the amount of employer national insurance in the previous year that makes you eligible for the employment allowance in the following year, which is £100,000 at the moment. So if in the previous year your employer's national insurance liability was in excess of £100,000, you wouldn't be eligible for the employment allowance in the following year. That's being scrapped. So in theory, that opens up the employment allowance to a wider range of businesses and business sizes, obviously. But obviously that we're only talking a £10,500 allowance versus if you've got a big workforce, you're probably going to still see an increase. And I think based on the figures and the forecasts that I saw, this is by far the biggest tax raiser in the budget. I think it was the figure I saw. I think was about 25 billion or something.
Yeah, it was over 20, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah.
So you are talking a huge increase in the tax take, which obviously by association is a huge increase of cost to employers. I guess going back to your question about what can employers do, I think probably what's going to happen is employers are going to sit down and reconsider their staffing budget, which would have a knock-on impact in terms of the number of job opportunities across the economy, I think.
Pay rises too could impact on future pay rises.
I think wage growth is probably going to be less positive than what it would have otherwise been, clearly because employers are having to, there's additional costs of employing people. But by association, if wages go up, your employer national insurance that's linked to that is also going to go up with it. So wage increases, I think, are going to be less than what otherwise would have been the case. And potentially, I think you could see prices going up as well, because again, businesses are going to have to recoup some of this extra cost. And you're either going to be looking at the prices they charge going up or cutting costs somewhere, which again is going to most likely be linked to your staffing costs.
Or a bit of both, as you just said.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. So budgets will be looked at very carefully going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I should have mentioned as well, actually, again, it was more or less formally announced the night before the budget, is that the national living wage is going up as
Yes.
well next year.
Yeah. That was my next question.
So again, it's another hit to employers, and it's quite, I guess, I don't know, a clever policy, if you like, for government to introduce, because in essence, it doesn't really cost them anything. That falls straight on the employer in terms of the minimum wage is what it is. You're obliged to pay people
In
the
terms of
minimum
how
wage.
it looks, yes.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. But again, it's an extra cost to employers. The NIC increase and everything we spoke about just then, the living wage going up, it is, the employers are taking a big hit of this, the budget and the taxes that it's looking to raise, really.
So the message is, once again, that the cost of operating a payroll goes up yet again. That's
Yeah.
the message from this budget, and it has happened previously as well.